The purpose of this show is to guide you to realign with habits that get you to live the life you've always dreamed of. This is the Habit-Based Lifestyle Podcast with Jesse Yule. This is the Habit-Based Lifestyle, where you can access your full potential right now. Finally break free from destructive habits. That dream life, if you want it, you can have it. This is where you transform your health, mind, business, and relationships. Or do nothing and keep your life the way it is. But if you're ready for change, you're in the right place. This is where you're gonna learn how to live a habit-based lifestyle. You are tuning in to the Habit-Based Lifestyle Podcast with your host, Jesse Yule. This is the Habit-Based Lifestyle. Let's go.
The 5x2 method. So a few episodes ago, I talked about the 2-minute rule and this concept that I learned and that I've read about from the book Atomic Habits. And James Clear goes into complete detail in this, but I did a podcast on it. And today I really want to talk about this idea of habit math. And this idea of habit math came to me from this 2-minute rule. And before we get into this, I want to talk about challenges. I want to talk about these physical challenges that we put ourselves through. If you don't know me very well, I'm a very competitive person. Let's just say I like to compete in literally everything and anything. So a few years ago, I can remember getting ready for a program called Kokoro. If you don't know what Kokoro is, it's this Navy SEAL training that civilians do and even guys do that are getting ready for BUD/S. It's put on by Mark Devine and SEAL Fit. But I remember doing 20X, and this was like a 12-hour program, and it was kind of a lower level program of Kokoro. And I remember doing it, and literally it was like 12 hours long. But I remember this feeling when we got done doing it. It's like, no way in hell I'm going to do this again and do it for 53 hours. And literally, I think like a week later, a couple days later, I was like, okay, I'm going to do Kokoro. But I could see when I began to get ready for Kokoro, I also did this with like 9 or 10 other guys that were buddies of mine. And I remember I began seeing them work out. I remember getting ready and start training for this. And they were doing like these huge workouts. And I was like feeling like, man, shit, I'm not doing enough. I can remember the feeling of like, hey, I can't keep up with these guys. These guys are already at a way higher level than I am. Like, I just remember not feeling like I was keeping up. Yet these guys were, in Arizona or other parts of the U.S. working out, posting, these huge long workouts that they were doing. And here I am, doing these 20, 30-minute workouts, like barely running. Some of these guys are like, rucking 20 or 30 miles. But I can remember feeling like shit. Like, man, I don't have enough time to train for this. I'm working full time. I'm running 2 gyms. I'm not at their level. And one of the things that I had to realize was this. I had to back up. And I had to begin to make the workouts I was doing manageable, because I just didn't have, 90 minutes in the morning to work out. I would usually get to work at 5, train clients at like 5:30, and then I had a few hour break, around 9 a.m. And I would usually go do, some workout, but I would also have to work on marketing and work on my business. And so I had to split up my workouts. I had to make them more manageable. I had to make them more effective every time I worked out. I just didn't have this 90 minutes to 2 hours that was required. But I can remember going through this book, 8 Weeks to SEAL Fit, and beginning to use that as my training book. And then I would also use my skills as what I had as a personal trainer. And one of the big things for me was like, a huge thing for me was injury prevention, making sure I didn't get injured. So as I began to go through this process, I began to add workouts in the night. Every night when I'd get home, You see, when I first started doing these workouts, I didn't really realize what I was doing at the time, but I was using this idea of the 2-minute rule. This idea of, hey, I'm going to start doing something in the evening. I'm going to start out doing it for 2 to 4 minutes. And one of the things I started doing right away was burpees. I started just doing 2 minutes straight of burpees. And I can remember after like 5 or 6 days or like a week, I doubled it. And all of a sudden, 7 days later, I'm doing 4 minutes straight of burpees. And as I began to double it, I began to realize that I was getting in shape. I began to improve. Like every single day, I could feel that I was improving. I was improving not only in my workouts in the morning, but my workouts at night. And I didn't miss any of them. The other thing that this did is it allowed me to get in 2 training sessions a day and not overwork or overtrain myself. Now, if you've ever gotten ready for a 53-hour endurance event with no sleep, like it's not the easiest thing to train for. And then you're working 2 full-time businesses that really could require me to spend all day at each. Yes, they were at gyms, so I did have some time to work out, and then 3 kids on top of it. Like it wasn't exactly the easiest thing to get rid of and commit to. And little did I know how much of a commitment it would actually be. And then we had a daughter that was less than a year old. So another, week goes by and I decide I'm going to add in kettlebell swings and I'm going to add in, still doing the burpees. So I added in another 4 minutes. So mind you, I started at 2 minutes. I started with 2 minutes. And then I doubled it and I went to 4 minutes after a week. And then I doubled it again and went to 8 minutes. Now, once I went to 8 minutes, I began to do burpees for, I think I did like 10 burpees and then I would do 10 kettlebell swings every minute on the minute, 8 rounds. And then all of a sudden, another week goes by and now I'm in week number 4. In week number 4, I double it again and now I'm at 16 minutes. And I realized at that time I was doubling my burpees. I was doubling my kettlebell swings. If you guys have ever done these for 16 minutes, like it kicks your ass. Literally 10 swings, 10 burpees on the minute, every minute, 16 rounds. It kicks your ass. So within 4 weeks, I had went from 2 minutes to 16 minutes. And I was hitting a second workout of the day. And as I began to do this, I started using this for running also. I started running with a vest for 2 minutes. After 5 to 7 days, I increased my time with another 2 minutes. Then all of a sudden it was 4 minutes. Then it was 8 minutes. And as I began to do this, I began to realize how much of a massive change I could make in a short amount of time just by doubling my workload. And as I continued to get ready for Kokoro, I began to get this massive amount of energy. I could do these small bouts of training, not overtrain, and be in tip-top shape and work on specific areas. I could see the massive change this was making in a short amount of time. Over an 8-week period, I went from barely doing any burpees to crushing 150 burpees, 150 swings inside of 16 minutes. I began running and rucking with a 20-pound vest and being able to run 2 to 3 miles under 25 minutes. And this was in a short amount of time. And I can remember still not feeling like I trained hard enough. I can remember still not feeling like I didn't do enough. And then when Kokoro came, I felt like I crushed it. I felt like I trained my ass off and I crushed it. Now, I'm not going to lie to you. It was hard. It was one of the most difficult things I've done. but I felt like I was prepared for it. I felt like I crushed it in my training. And here's what else. I was the only guy out of every guy in there who 3 weeks later went and did a Go Ruck Tough challenge. I was the only guy who went and did another event 3 weeks later and did a Go Ruck Tough challenge where I had carried the 12 hours that I had done that in was way harder than anything I had done in Kokoro or way harder than anything I'd ever done. Literally, for 12 hours straight, we packed around 80 pounds. But I was recovered to be able to do that. No one else had recovered and been able to do that. So I knew this. I knew that my training was more effective because I recovered faster than anybody else. Then to go on 4 weeks later, I would enter an event called Warrior Strongest Man. For many of you guys, if you didn't know, I was in Wake Up Warrior. At that time, we were doing these quarterly events in an Empire program, but this one was Warrior Strongest Man. So literally 6-7 weeks later, I'm all of a sudden going from an endurance event to another endurance event to 6 weeks from when I finished Kokoro going into Warrior Strongest Man, where I would bench 450 pounds or bench 315, squat 450, clean 275, and deadlift 475. So all these things were possible because I recovered. All these things were possible because I had used this habit math method. Now, after I got done with the Go Ruck Tough Challenge, I began to train in this strongman event, and I used the same things. I hadn't lifted heavy for years. I hadn't lifted heavy for a long time. And I had spent the previous 6 or 7 months getting ready for a 53-hour endurance event, and then to come back 4 weeks out and begin to training using this same 5x2 method, this method and rule of multiplying to get the results in the time that I want. I use the exact same thing for my squat, my bench, my deadlift. But I didn't really know what it was at the time. And then after reading about this 2-minute rule, I realized this is exactly what I was doing. And the 5x2 method simply means this: you double the time 5 times. So it would be 2 times. You start with 2 minutes, then you go to 4 minutes, then you go to 8 minutes, then you go to 16 minutes, and then you go to 32 minutes. That's 5 times you've multiplied by 2 or double. And you see, most things can get done inside of that 32 minutes. Now, if I wanted to go even more, I could double it again. I'd be at 1 hour and 4 minutes. I don't really see the point of working out that long. I don't really see the point of doing an endurance training that long, because at a certain time, you're not going to be able to recover. But I started to realize that I could actually use this method for meditation, my workouts, pretty much anything that I wanted to learn how to do in a short amount of time. And you can stop also. So for me, meditation, I'm not going to really go for more than about 20 minutes. So I would start with this 2 minutes of meditation. After 5 consecutive days, I would double the time. I would go to 4 minutes. After 5 consecutive days, I would then double the time to 8 minutes. After 5 consecutive days, I would double the time again, and I would now be at 16 minutes. So within 20 days, I'm now at 16 minutes of meditation, where I just started with 2 minutes. Most people would tell you 2 minutes is not enough time. Most people will tell you that they will not get anything out of the 2 minutes. What I'm here to tell you about is not about the 2 minutes. It's about starting simple. It's about starting small. And then after 5 consecutive days, you have to double the time. Now, the rule is this: if you don't do it in 5 consecutive days, you have to go back and start over. You have to go back to the level before and start over. Because here's the deal: most people have the issues in the 2 minutes and 4 minutes and 8 minutes. Very rarely will they have an issue in the 16 minutes or 32 minutes, because They've already established this habit. They've already established this place of habit. So here's what I want you to do today. I want you to write down this one area or this one habit you're going to implement with this 5x2 method. And you're going to simply just write out the math. 2 minutes of meditation, 2 minutes of exercise, 5 consecutive days, then I double it. 4 minutes, 5 consecutive days, then I double it. 8 minutes, 5 consecutive days, then I double it. 16 minutes, 5 consecutive days, then I double it. 32 minutes, 5 consecutive days, and that's my target. So I want you to put in whatever is going to work for you, your habit that you're going to implement. And as you begin to do this, you're going to mark out where you eventually want to get to. Are you going to do 3 rounds? You're going to do 4 rounds? You're going to do 5 rounds? For me, 5 was kind of the sweet spot. For some things, 4 would be the sweet spot. Either way, it got me to where it made sense. It got me to where I could say, listen, 2 minutes is easy. 2 minutes is simple. And I can do anything from this place. So if you're in this place and you're not quite sure how to get started, anyone can start with 2 minutes. Anyone can do this. And understand this is what I used to train for a 53-hour event called Kokoro. I use this to learn how to meditate consistently. I use this to learn how to implement another exercise program. I've had massive clients use this and get huge results. So guys, I appreciate you being on here. I would love to get your feedback, have a review. But more than anything, I would love for you to email and let me know how you're doing on this 5x2 method. Email me, jesse@habitbasedlifestyle.com. You can also reach out on my website, habitbasedlifestyle.com. I would love to talk to you. I would love to get some feedback from you, and I would love to have a review. Until next episode, have an awesome day.
The purpose of this show is to guide you to realign with habits that get you to live the life you've always dreamed of. This is the Habit-Based Lifestyle Podcast with Jesse Ewing.